What happens when you put audiophile grade components in a cabinet that's anything but ordinary? You get a speaker that turns heads before it even plays a note and blows you away when it does. I've even enlisted an expert to help me choose the drivers and crossovers for this build, but we'll get to that later. Welcome to Timber West Design, where creative ideas meet smart design for everyday living. The reason I love building my own speakers is because it puts me in control of everything: materials, design, and performance. Going DIY means I'm not stuck with what the manufacturer thinks I want to have, and I can try ideas that you just won't find on a store shelf. For this build, I went with concrete because it's incredibly rigid and inert. That means the enclosure itself won't color the sound. So you hear the drivers, not the box. And it lets me create shapes that you just can't achieve with wood. This particular shape isn't just for looks. The smooth curves help with sound dispersion, and the tapered body helps reduce internal reflections. It's a functional design that also happens to look like a modern sculpture. The goals for this project: I wanted to create more of an audiophile level of a speaker. So I reached out to an expert at a well-known company, had them help me with the components, and we collaborated to make a very, very cool project. The other goal I had for this project was to make the best looking XLS Encore system that's online. Here's the speaker shape we came up with. I like this curve, tapers back to the narrow back end. Here's the port tube. This is a space for the connectors, woofer tweeter. So I had to decide how I was going to split this. I contemplating doing a left and a right. That was something to consider, but I ended up splitting it front and back. So I split it at this point right here and had a front baffle section, and then I had the back section. So the front baffle inside looks like that. We have this radius on the inside for edge diffraction for the woofer. And then here's the two 3D printed molds. And then we get to the inside of the back. This is showing the port tube. We can hide that. So this is the inside mold, 2 parts. Here's the outside mold. There's 6 main parts. And then here's this little pour funnel to pour the concrete. And here is the crossover plate that I made. So we'll send this all to the printer, and the printer will be busy. So we'll see you soon. My printer is going to be very busy for the next few days, printing lots and lots of parts, but it will be worth it in the end. The 3D printer's been hard at work, and it's finally done. So it's time to put these things together. So I've got the back section, inner and outer, and I've got the front section, inner and outer, and we'll just put that all together and get to that point. The sections are put together. I have to put a threaded insert in 2 spots. So I'm going to put this knurled insert in. You take a tip that's cut off and heat it up on the soldering iron, and it'll sink right in. Just make sure it's flush or slightly below, just like so. Do that on the other side, and there we go. So I like to use that one. I can't put a nut on the back side, or that's not practical for a nut. Put a threaded insert in. It's time for some mold release. We take this canola oil, spray it in, take a foam brush and just get it spread out nice and evenly. Just go through all the parts, get that done, and then we'll start putting some inserts in. So on the front baffle, I want to put some threaded inserts in for mounting the drivers. So I'm going to have this M5 brass insert and an M5 machine screw. I'm going to put it in right here, like so. Put the screw on the other side, thread that on. And then these inserts will be part of the housing because they will be cast in place. So I'll snug that up, do that all the way around, and we'll have some threaded inserts ready to go. I also want to put some vibration dampening feet on the bottom of this potentially. So I'm going to put some 1/4-20 inserts on the bottom. So 2 on the front and 1 in the back. These are there if you want them. You don't need to use them, but in case I decide to add that, I want them to have some inserts there. The inserts are all in place, ready to go. So now it's time to assemble the inner and the outer sections of the mold. So this will make the outside. This will make the inside. I have this radius piece on here. We'll talk about that down the road, but I'll explain what that is. But for now, this just goes together like so. And we're getting very close to mixing some concrete. So we're going to put this together. I'll get to that point. So I've got this port tube boss. It's going to be lined up with this hole here. And we're going to put that in place now. Like so. So this is what the threaded insert's for. So this is still a little wobbly and I can't have that. So we've got to have it really secure. So I made this little bracket that gets bolted onto the flange here. This gets going through that insert and we'll get that all put together and we're getting close. The brackets are on. Everything is very secure. You just want this all on one nice plane, which it is looking really good. So this is a tight gap to pour concrete in. So what I've done is I 3D printed this little funnel. It'll sit here, I'll be able to pour it, move it wherever I need to. That's gonna save a lot of mess and headaches. So we got that resolved. This one, I had a little bit of an issue as I was putting a straight edge on here. I was a little bit off. It was a little bit of concave, so I made these ribs on here and shimmed it a little bit so that this is perfectly flat, because when this mates onto here, I want a nice clean seal. All mixed up and ready to go. So what I did, this is a 15,000 gram total mix, and I split it into two. I'm just going to do two back to back, so it's just a little easier to get it mixed and consistent. I'll get a spatula here and scrape some of that out and get on to the next mix. All right, here comes the second batch. Go around and get this thing filled. All right, we're starting to get to the top here. And then just for the end, I'll just kind of come around and just top off all the way around. So a little easier to do it that way. Hopefully I got enough here. Okay, a little bit more scraped out and we're good to go. While the concrete sets up, a quick reminder, at Timber West Design, we custom build timber pergolas and pavilions, and we ship them anywhere in the continental US. These aren't prefabbed kits. Every structure is made to order and designed to match your space. Head over to timberwestdesign.com where you can set up a free consultation with me to design your ultimate outdoor space. It's been about 3 hours. It's cooled down enough to pull, so it's now just time to start unbolting things. And I'm really excited to see how this looks. So get this all unbolted and then I'll come back when we start taking the molds off. The bolts are off. So I 3D printed these lugs. They were going to be lifting lugs in case I needed to put a clamp to pull this, but guess what? It just comes right out. So that is the inside of the enclosure. So now we're just going to pop sections off here. That looks good. These are going to pop off easy. Look on this side. Oh, here we go. These just fall off. There is the inserts right there that are molded in. So that's kind of cool. Voila, there we go. Look at that. Very, very cool. That's the enclosure. We'll get the baffle pulled here in a second, and I am excited. This looks really, really good. Here's what the front baffle looks like. And this is the machine thread inserts that we cast in. They're perfect, they're nice and flush. These are gonna work out really, really well. So it's time to glue. I'm gonna use this Loctite adhesive that does really well with this cement. So let's get this thing going. So we're just gonna put a nice bead along this edge. I want a little bit of ooze out, but not too much. Just go around this thing and put them together. Just make sure that you orient the top to the top. That would be important. So we're just gonna take this thing, set it on top like so. And I'm gonna just kind of squish it around a little bit to work it in. And then the reason we have the gloves is because this is a gooey, sticky mess. And you need to touch and make sure it's all aligned. So I think we're getting pretty close. As this sets up, I'll kind of just trim off the excess. This takes 24 to 48 hours. So I'm gonna do the other one and then we're gonna let it sit for a few days. The glue is dry. It's time to start sanding this and getting it ready for primer. So we've got where the two parts meet. I gotta blend that in. We got some parting lines. We've gotta just blend those in a little bit. I'll use some sandpaper and angle grinder. Also, I've got the threaded inserts here, and I do not want to get dust or primer paint in there, so I have put these sacrificial screws in here. They're going to get all primed up, so they won't be the final screws, but I'll do that to both to protect the threads. And then also notice in here the inside edge is radiused for edge diffraction reduction on the woofer. So let's start getting this thing sanded and get it ready for primer. The primer's dry, so you have some flaws mainly where the parting lines are and where the front met the back. So it's going to take some spot putty. So we're going to take with a putty knife and we'll just kind of go through, smooth out some of the flaws. This will probably take like 2 or 3 times. Go through the whole thing, let it dry for like an hour. We'll sand it. There'll be probably a few more low spots. We'll putty it again, and we'll just get it till it feels really good and smooth and get it ready for the paint job. So I'm on the second coat of primer on these things. I did the first coat, I did spot putty, touch up a little bit again. Once I thought I was pretty good, then I did the second coat of primer, which now is looking pretty darn good. So there might be a few little things I'll touch up. I'll sand this all down with 150 grit sandpaper, and then we're going to get ready for the base paint coat. This is what it looks like with the base coat done. So I've got this charcoal gray. This was done with the base. And the next step is this gray stone. I'll do 2 coats of this, and then I'll top it off with a clear coat. We'll see you then. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Pale Blue Batteries. You know, I like nice high-end flashlights, and you know what powers my flashlights? Pale Blue rechargeable batteries. What I like about them is I can take a power bank on the go. There's a USB-C port right on the battery. I can plug it in, charge on the go. Pale Blue batteries, they're awesome. Paint job is done, and this looks fantastic. I love this color combination. It looks so good. We're on the home stretch. We're about ready to put things together now. So I 3D printed these isolation feet in TPU, put in a 1/4-20 insert, and they are now mounted to the bottom. So that's going to give it some vibration isolation, and it looks good too. It's time to put in the binding posts. These will just go right in that hole. I'll put the nut on from the inside and secure that in place on both speakers, and we'll get to that point. It is time to build the crossover. So I built this crossover board for the standard Encore XLS, a little spot for every piece. But my cabinet is tapered in the back, so I had to make a modified version of that. So what we're gonna do is, so it has the values all listed on here. So you got the resistors that go in their positions, you got the capacitors that go in their positions, and then the inductors, and the inductors have to be in this orientation to each other. I will hot glue them all in, and then these slots are for the zip ties, so you can zip tie them in place. And this is what the finished product looks like. So this one's ready to go. Danny at GR Research has got a great tutorial on how this all gets put together. So let me tell you about this setup. This is a high-end version of the Encore XLS. It's specifically designed for these drivers. I could try to explain why these are so cool, but I'm gonna let Danny do that instead.
Hey everybody, Danny at GR Research here. Steve has asked me to do some explanations on the crossover and give you a little background on the whys and the whats and how I choose those parts and why they're there. And it's a common question a lot of people ask us about the parts. We spend a lot of time doing listening comparisons and comparing different types of parts, especially with capacitors, resistors, even a lot with coils. So let's start with coils. Most of the coils that you see out there, those are imported from China. And there's nothing wrong with parts that come from China. China does a great job on a lot of things, but most of their copper that they sell is below the commodity price for copper. In other words, copper is a commodity just like gold and silver. It's the same price all over the world. There's a set price for it. And the way they can make copper products cheaper is that they typically use recycled copper. So most of the coils and stuff that you see out there are made with that type of copper. It's 94 to 96% copper. The ones that we're using is 4/9 pure copper that's made here in the US, and we have it wound up in Ohio at US Coil. So it's a lot higher purity, it's very good quality, and that makes a big difference in how things actually sound. And I like how you did the layout on it, by the way. You stood the coil, the smaller one, up on its end, and the whole printed board that you made was just fantastic. That makes everything so easy. Capacitors wise, we've compared pretty much every capacitor that you can think of. Our favorite is to go to the Sonic caps. That's our top level cap. It's a made in the US cap. It's fast, it's clean, it doesn't have a particular sound or coloration. Of all the top level caps, it's in a good price range where it's kind of in the middle of the price points. It's not crazy expensive, but the quality is just so much better. If you listen to that compared to a Solon poly cap or something, there's an immediate difference in clarity. It's like, okay, that made a difference. That was big. Same with resistors. You notice the resistors that we say have GR research on them. We had our own resistors made. All the wire through it's heavy gauge. It's all copper insides. Just good quality throughout. The wire even. The wire's 4 nines pure copper and polyethylene. It's not PVC jacketed wire. So when you start putting attention to all those little details, suddenly the details aren't little anymore. It starts adding up to pretty significant differences in performance.
So this resistor and capacitor, when the lines are in line with one another, you just want to twist them around each other. You don't want to twist them up. So we kind of want to keep this in one line. It's easier to do before we glue them in because it's kind of tight to wind that. So I'm just going to nip off these little extra pieces, and then it's time to glue these in. So I'm just going to put a little dab in here, a little dab there, and set these in position just like so. Let that cool off for a minute, and I'll just start putting all the pieces in. The rest of these I'll glue in first, and then we'll make the attachments. We'll make all the connections. So all the connections are put together, so we need to now solder them. So actually we're going to get our tip, a little solder on there. We're going to heat that up, and then we're just going to make sure that these are all well connected. Now it's time to add zip ties to secure this in place. So I'll get these all on here, get everything secured well. No rattling, no movement. So we'll go around, hit all the spots, get them all soldered and connected, and then we'll put our wires to them, and we'll get to that point. This wire is pure copper and will oxidize if it's left exposed. So we have this heat shrink tubing that we're going to put on here and protect it, and just put it on a low setting. Just go around this thing, it will shrink around there and protect it nicely. So I have these mount little feet for the crossover plate. I was thinking about just gluing this in place, but if I ever need to service this or get to this, I thought I want to be able to take it up. So I have these, I have a threaded insert, I have these machine screws, so I can just undo 4 bolts, pop this thing out. So right now, we're just going to glue this portion only and put that in place carefully so we don't burn ourselves. And that goes right there, just like so. We're getting closer. It's time for the port tube. So the kit came with this port tube, which is a good port tube, but it's flat on the back and I have a curved back. So the solution I came up with is I 3D printed one with the curved flange on it. So it'll fit in just like that. I'll hot glue that in place. Now the curve lines up with the back. Looking good. I like it. All soldered up and ready to install. So just like so. Perfect fit. And we'll put the screws in. The wires are soldered to the woofer. The polyfill's all in place. It is time to install the woofer. I'm so excited for this part. So we'll just put some screws in here and get this thing going. A few takeaways from this build. Getting expert input really helped me out. There was a bunch of times I consulted with Danny. He made some suggestions and some tweaks on what I was doing. Just made this overall project much better. Second, concrete is a fantastic enclosure material, but it requires some patience if you want that high-end production look. And finally, 3D printing your molds just gives you a whole lot more latitude on different options and shapes that you want to try out. From CAD to concrete, this build proves that these projects can look stunning and make the music sound even better. I'm considering doing a small run of these speakers with high production tooling. If there's enough interest, I'm planning on starting a Kickstarter campaign so you can be part of the very first batch. If this sounds interesting to you, send me an email at info@timberwestdesign.com and let me know. And you'll be the first to hear when the campaign goes live. If you like what you see here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. I also take on custom projects. If you have an idea that you want to bring to life, please reach out. Thanks for watching, and remember, creativity is only a 3D print away.